Okay, you're on, baby.
Okay. Hey everyone, want to welcome you guys to Team Time. We're Andy and Karen Edwards down here in Houston, Texas. And we want to we're just going to let you know that tonight's format is going to be the same as all of our other Ustreams. There's going to be 30 minutes worth of training. There's going to be 30 minutes worth of texting us questions. We'll answer those here on camera. For all of our leaders out there, you know, y'all take a look at this and let us know if there's anything wrong, if the sound's not good, or if the picture's not good. Just give me a text and let me know.
Yeah,
but tonight's format.
Sorry, I don't.
Thanks. Tonight's format. Excuse me, guys. Tonight's format is going to be the same as it has been the 30 and 30. My number again is 281-844-4591. Again, the call-in number for the questions afterwards is 281-844-4591. And it looks like everything is good, so we're going to go ahead and get this thing kicked off. I want to say one thing before we do get going. Our beliefs incentive. I want to talk a little bit about our beliefs incentive, guys. This is going to be an amazing trip, and there's a lot of people that are extremely fired up about this trip. But I really want to talk to you guys out there that are just kind of like on the borderline right now. And you know, we're not even halfway through this incentive, the qualification piece of it. And so, what I want to remind you of is, look at your tracker, figure out where we are, figure out where you are on your tracker, what you still need, and start making that part of your daily operation, and just follow that tracker, guys, because this trip, this belief trip, it is totally doable. This, you know, we want a ton of people on this trip, and so the way that we design this trip, it's not going to be hard to hit if you go to work, but you got to know where you are. You got to know where you're out on the playing field. So take a look at that. If you got any questions, call your leader. Going to beliefs is something that you want to do, call your leader and let them know. They'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I think we are just about ready to get this thing rolling.
Good to go.
Hope you guys have your pen and notepad tonight. This is going to be some good stuff.
All right. So, guys, tonight, hey, it's good to see you all. I'm actually really excited about this Ustream. I told Andy tonight I had this idea that I wanted to do something that was going to really empower you in a way that just takes you to the next level this week with talking to people. And what our Ustream is going to be about is word choices. Okay, now for some of you that comes very naturally, and for others, if you're like me, when you first started the business, you're very excited and you're out there telling people about AdvoCare, but sometimes you feel like, or I did anyway, like you're throwing spaghetti up against a wall and hoping something sticks. That's how I used to feel in AdvoCare. So, you know, just to put that in perspective, I was excited about AdvoCare, and I did see it for something that was going to help our family. And I was proud of what I was talking about, and I really wanted to get out there and tell people about it, but I just didn't have words that I felt like were helping me succeed. And so I became a real student of what other people were saying. And so that's what I want to do tonight for you, is just give you some word choices that I learned along the way. It made a huge difference for me. Okay, now, having said that, there's a couple of concepts that I want you to remember even before I walk you through some word choices that have worked for me. Okay, and if you're at Success School, you are already going to be familiar with this concept because it was something that was really deep in my heart before we did the panel up on stage, where the panel was all about word choices, but we had this really strong sense that we wanted you to understand that even though you're going to get word choices and grab hold of them and use them, don't ever think you're going to have to be perfect when you talk AdvoCare. So one of the concepts I just want you to write down, think about, and remember all the way through your AdvoCare journey is passion trumps perfection. Okay, passion trumps perfection. If you are passionate about your message, if you are excited about what you have your hands on, and you think of another person you can tell that to, then do it. Okay, now do we get better and better along the way? Absolutely. there is no doubt then that the more you do AdvoCare and the more people that you talk to and the more times you tell your story and the more mixers that you do and the more times you just simply invite somebody to a mixer or sample a spark to somebody, the more easily you find it becomes. But at the same time, really and truly, at the end of the day in AdvoCare, it's never about a perfect pitch. It's never about a script that's always going to work on anybody you talk to, because the bottom line is, in this business, we're not looking to be so perfect at what we say that we can get people to say yes. We're always just trying to share a message, and we're not looking for a yes, and we're not looking for a no, we're just looking for responders. Okay, and so that message of AdvoCare is going to get someone to respond. So think about that up front. Here's another concept I want you to remember before I feed you any word choices, before Andy feeds you any word choices. In this business, you always want to be yourself. Okay, you always want to be yourself. And here's why. And I'm going to just tell you that this is from my own experience. I remember early on in my business when I did begin to grab hold of the fact that if I could think of a few word choices that got me comfortable in getting a conversation started, or some word choices that would move people into action, some of the things we're going to teach you tonight, I knew and started realizing that that was moving my business forward. But I made one mistake, and that was that I got so hungry to learn what other people were saying and try to incorporate those word choices into my own daily AdvoCare activity that I started to sometimes borrow word choices from people that were very different than me. And here's what happened. When I would use those particular word choices, it would offset people. Okay, these are mistakes that I made in the business. And here's why. People that know me were expecting me. And if I were using someone else's word choices and they were very different personality than me, then all of a sudden friends or family were thinking, well, that's changing you. What's going on with you, Or even a stranger. Sometimes I would get a new team member and I would try to use word choices from a stronger personality leader or a leader who just had a different way to me, and I would try to use their word choices, and I couldn't pull it off. I was uncomfortable using it, so that came across uncomfortable. And so that's a concept I want you to think about. Be yourself. Now, that doesn't mean that we sit around and just make excuses for ourselves. Okay, well, that's just me. I'm just like that, so that's the way I talk. No, we always want to be our best self, and we always want to be a person who's growing in character and integrity, and the way we connect with people, and the way we talk to people, and the way we treat people. All of that's going to just completely grow as you grow in this business. That's the personal development side of AdvoCare. But be yourself. Okay.
Yeah. People will they'll know a couple of things. If it's enthusiasm, if you're a little bit over enthusiastic, and we call that sometimes just really kind of like pouring AdvoCare on somebody. People are okay. People will be okay with that if they know that, hey, Andy's just fired up about something. But if they hear words come out of my mouth, or if they hear phrases come out of my mouth that they feel like are manipulative or contrived or programmed, that's when people back up a little bit and say, well, if the first thing that they think of is that they're not going to be interested in something like that, because that's not something that they would want to say. They don't even want to hear it, much less think about themselves as saying it. So people will be, I'm not going to say sympathetic, but they'll understand. They'll be understanding. You can always go back later if you've just been a little bit over enthusiastic about AdvoCare. You can always go back later and say, hey, you know what? I was really enthused about what I was talking about, and here's the thing. I probably messed that up, and I probably didn't do you a great service, or me a great service. So let me just try this one more time, and clean it up, and just ask for grace and move forward. People are great with that. It's when they think that things are premeditated, kind of contrived, that sort of thing, that it's a turnoff for a lot of people.
Sure, absolutely. And even when I share some things with you about how to move people into action, etc. How to get people started, how to move from showing it to actually closing a sale or getting somebody to say yes to the business. You have to remember it's always going to be here's what you want to think about is you've got some goals, okay? You've got some real deep desires in your own life for your own family, and you are making choices every day about who you're going to talk to and what you're going to say, etc. But you always want to have the mediator between those two is your heart, okay? So anytime you're thinking about what to say for a goal that you're trying to reach, there's nothing wrong with any of that. It could be beliefs. You may be very, very focused on beliefs, like Andy said at the start. We want you to be. And so we know you need $30,000 of volume for that in the pay period that this contest runs, or you need to move up to pin levels. But as you're making decisions about choices that you're going to make and words that you're going to use, you always want to measure that by your heart, because people can read your heart no matter what's coming out of your mouth. So as long as your intentions are good, and there's always that helping attitude, and that attitude of when I present like this and I use these word choices, at the end of the day, I'm still just looking for responders. I'm just looking for those people who get excited and say yes so I can help them. And I know that makes sense to you. So those are things we wanted you to think about up front. The other thing is keep continuing to get yourself around AdvoCare. We had Jeff Ellis train on a call the other night, and he was talking about how he's rolling with Regis, and that might have been Scott Ramage. I can't remember. So many of our leaders are rolling with Regis these days because we keep talking about that. Put Charlie Regis in your CD player. That's the founder of our company, Notes on Success. The more you hear him, the more it comes out of you. Every time you see a Ustream or a web presentation, if you have a little bit of time to watch it, or some video trainings, or being on three-way phone calls with your leaders, or going to mixers, the more you hear the word choices, the easier they are to use, and the easier it is to adopt the ones that feel really good to you. Where Andy and I used to always say, we would see somebody on stage at school, we would hear a phrase that they used that was describing something that somebody else may use a slightly different phrase with, and think, I could say that. That's what you want to be doing. Now, we never want to hide behind being afraid to say anything, so you got to find something that feels comfortable to you. But the message is, just sometimes you're going to hear word choices that help. Okay, now again, remember your goal is to find responders. And so again, we always talk engages. And so each pay period, at the start of a pay period, you have to remember that you're looking to set your calendar and to look at your life and to say, this is the time frames that I can work AdvoCare and make some very specific phone calls, very focused, intentional business, along with looking for that person you just are chatting with at the gym, and you realize this is a perfect time for me to say, hey, have you ever heard of AdvoCare, and move into that, okay? But what we want you to understand is that at the end of the day, you want to be setting gauges each pay period, so that your intentional work plus your AdvoCare on the go work is going to lead to some of the things that we keep sharing with you are going to be critical for your business to grow. Okay, so think about the gauge of volume, personal and group volume every pay period. If you're taking notes, $3,000 of personal group volume each pay period is what you want to aim for or above if you're looking, one, to get to beliefs, and two, if you're looking to build. Okay, so if you're doing $1,000 of volume each pay period, you're looking to maintain usually wherever you are in your pin levels. Okay, so that's like oxygen to your business. At least $1,000 of PGV keeps your business moving forward. But if you are looking to grow and get to the next level, we're looking at 3K or above, because that means you're recruiting new advisors along with ordering products for yourself and getting your customers going on products. Okay, so just remember that gauge. The other gauge, of course, is getting 1 to 3 new distributors per pay period. And remember, not just $79, but that they're getting started on products or qualifying orders towards advisor. These are things that are going to grow your business. We do want you to keep remembering, you've got to be absolutely realistic with yourself about how many people you're talking to per pay period, okay? Because that is something that we cannot do for you. Your leader can't do for you, and no one's going to make you talk to people. But if you're very specific at the beginning of the pay period, blocking out some times that you're going to be intentional, and then always keeping that Advocare 3-foot rule going, where if there's someone within 3 feet of you and you're being friendly and you're talking and open up conversation instead of staying in your own little world, you're going to find there's more and more business out there. So be realistic and think about the goals of 30 and 3. Remember, 30 and 3 is something we talk about in Advocare all the time. That's the picture of building towards the Ruby level, okay? If you're brand new, just so you know, Ruby is $81,000 a year on a part-time basis. And once you can learn and build to Ruby, whether it takes you 90 days, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, once you build to Ruby, you've established a base of business that's going to continue to grow, and you can just continue to repeat that and see that real multiplication effect begin to happen, which is why in Advocare we can build wealth. Okay, so 30 and 3 means 30 people getting started on product. Okay, you don't do that in one day. That takes time, it takes conversations, and then 3 business builders that you can repeat the process with. So we're going to just get into some words and words to use, words not to use, best case scenarios to really get you comfortable in talking to people. I'm going to start with something called a so that statement. Okay, and I want to just qualify this just a little bit, because the so that statement's fairly new in Advocare. We have always had a package story. You go right to your website and you can study on the videos, and you need to be, or should be, for your better future, studying how to package your story and practicing that. There's 4 parts to it, and there's videos on it. There's a 30-second story that we've talked about for a long, long time here in Advocare, just about briefly your 30-second product results or business results. But lately you might be hearing people talk about their so that statement, and we don't want to leave anybody behind on that. So I want to teach you right now the proper way to do it, so that statement. And the reason I say proper is because Advocare is growing in leaps and bounds. We know that. And there's, over 350, I think, thousand distributors now. And so you may be hearing somebody say a so that statement and copying them, and it may not be ideal. Okay, and here's why. Because we are growing so fast that people are watching, and you want to make sure that you are having a statement that attracts people, creates interest, but has a verifiable statement in it where they could verify, you could verify it. Okay, so in other words, we don't want to just be telling people just a vision of, by this time, next year I'm going to be earning $30,000 a month, without anything that can verify why that's possible. Okay, so we do want vision, but we need to verify with truth. Okay, so here I want you to write this down if you would. This is the proper and best way to have a very brief so that statement that can totally grow your business. The more you say it, the more people you're going to find to respond, because they're going to want what you have. Okay, so first you have to have a verifiable statement at the beginning where you're going to say to somebody, hey, currently I am earning blank, and you put the number in that you're currently earning. Or you could say it like this: last month I earned blank. Okay, so you want to stay current on what your earnings are so you can state your earnings. Okay, and guys, I just want to let you know this comes straight from Advocare Legal Department. At this point in our business, we want everybody's business protected, so it's so important. If last month you earned $186, don't say $200. Say $186, because that's extra income into your family's home, and it shows your friend that Advocare worked for you last month. Okay, that is a great beginning. You have to remember there's other stories that your friend will hear that'll be larger incomes, but that's wonderful. Just be proud of what's happening right now. Okay, right now, currently I'm earning, or last month I earned blank. Now here's the really important thing to say. And I have a plan. Okay? And I have a plan. Okay, what is your plan? You don't have to tell them all that, but you know what it is. It's the company Advocare with real science and real products and a business model that works, and that's, integrous. Your plan is the success system. It's the fact that you have leadership that can help you, or even if you don't have leadership that can help you, it's the fact that there's trainings available to you and meetings corporately sponsored all across the nation. You have a plan. So you say that, and I have a plan. And now comes your vision statement. By the end of this year, or you could say by this time next year, or you could say in May when the kids finish school, whatever your goal is, I will be earning blank so that blank. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. By the end of this year, or by the end of May, or whatever you set as your goal date, I will be earning blank so that blank. And that's whatever your family needs from that income. Okay? So currently I'm earning blank, or last month I earned blank, and I have a plan. By this time next year, I will be earning blank so that blank. You fill in the blanks with your dream and your vision, and you share that over and over and over again. And then you're going to show people that you thought of them and you want to show them more. Okay? And we're going to give you some language on that. So tonight, if you didn't know how to do the so that statement, tonight's already been worth your time, and we're really proud of you for being on the Ustream, because that's how important your so that statement is.
Well, I was going to say that your so that statement will change. It's gonna grow just like your income is going to grow.
Exactly.
So your so that statement could be, I'm going to make an extra $500 a month so that my husband doesn't have to work as much overtime as he's been working.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when that changes, when your income changes and he's not working that overtime, or she's not having to work that extra job, your story is going to change. Your income is going to change. But people, that's going to be your story forever. You will be able to tell people at some point, when we started out, this was our so that, and that's what people will be able to relate to.
Right. Because
if somebody's new in the business and they hear these huge incomes, it's tough for them to relate to that. What people can really relate to are very basic things. Helping make a car payment, making sure that somebody doesn't have to work overtime, that pulls them away from their family. Those are the things. They're small, but those are the things that people can really hang on to. It's what people are looking for. That's the kind of thing that somebody may desire in their heart, but they may not even be willing to say that. If they hear you say that, if that's your goal, your desire, that's something that they can buy into and move with, and people will be attracted to that.
That's right. And remember, it is so important to remember that while we're always excited about the major incomes in Advocare, you build this business by finding so many people you can help capture the thought of earning $1,000 to $3,000 a month, so that they can pay off debt, so that they can get rid of their second job, so that those are the kind of stories that will attract champions who are so excited about going to work. And then we just continue to repeat that process and help them repeat the process, and that's what happens in this business. Okay, so I'm going to walk through, and I'm looking at the time, and I think we'll probably go till 9:15 with some of the things that I want to walk through, and they're just different areas of your business that I believe it'll really help you as you get some word choices going down. Now, the very first one, I'm going straight to the most important thing, and that is your warm market list. That is taking your list of people and finding time each day, whenever you can carve out time, to start making some very intentional phone calls, okay? And so a lot of times people are thinking, well, what do I say when I go to make those phone calls? Because you have a job to do. I mean, your job is to get some appointments set. Your job is to find some people who are willing to sit down and look at Advocare, okay? So you got to get that list down on paper, and it's really important. Now, there's a lot of variables here, because you're going to have some people who are local, you're going to have some people who are long distance, so there's a little bit of variable in here. But just remember, passion trumps perfection, and we're looking to find the responders. But I'm going to give you a few things that I think are critical. One, as you make these phone calls, remember that you're calling with a purpose. Okay? We are never trying to backdoor anybody into AdvoCare. We don't want to call them, talk about other things, and sneak it in there. Okay? So some of the wording that's worked best for me, and if you would, I would just be taking notes. The things that you want to duplicate and copy, I would start putting them into practice. These are the things that we love. One is when I call anybody, I always ask the exact same question. If you're a team member, you'll hear that I do it for you too. And it's simply because when I'm calling somebody, I would like their attention. I would like them not to be distracted. It's too important, and their time is too valuable. My time is too valuable. So this works so great, is asking somebody when you make the phone call, hi, you identify yourself. Hi, this is Karen Edwards. Is this a good or a bad time to be calling? Just flat out ask them. Is this a good or a bad time to be calling? If they say it's a bad time, you just say, that's great, no problem, that's why I asked, but I was calling for a reason. When is a better time I can call you back? And just ask for a better time, and then just hang up. Don't keep talking after that. Just say, great, I'll call you back tomorrow night at 7. That works for you? Perfect. Now, if they say, yes, it's a good time to be calling, let them know right up front, I'm calling for a reason. Okay, we've got to be very, very proud of AdvoCare. Now, I'm going to read right off this paper, and I'm going to read off this paper right here, and I'm just going to give you some simple words that you may want to grab hold of. And again, remember, the purpose of these phone calls is to let people know you found a way to help them, okay? Again, there's not any black and white here, but you're going to be saying things such as, I found a way to get Andy out of his job, and I'm excited about it, and I thought of you because I know you are also looking for a way to earn income for XYZ, okay? So you're letting them know you found a way. You're letting them know you thought of them because, and you're immediately putting it in perspective for their own life, okay? So you're going to be saying something to that effect. The reason I called is, okay? That's another really important thing to say. The reason I called is, I found a way to get home with my kids. There's so many variables you can say, but if you keep it very simple and very directed towards what you found for yourself and why you thought of them, you're off to a great beginning, okay? Now, typically at that point, you're going to say something to the effect of, I want to show it to you. I'm excited for you. I know this could help you too. Now here's a statement that might help you just to be able to get through any barriers. Hey, listen, this may or may not be for you, but it's worth looking at. It may or may not be for you, but you won't know unless you see it with your own eyes. It may or may not be for you, but what if it is? You know, you and I are friends. We've talked about so many things in life, and I know this is a good thing that could possibly change things for you and your family. So just remember, you're just bringing it to them to take a look. Okay, now that helps you a lot because sometimes when you're new, you think you need to now start answering all their questions when they start throwing those questions at you, but you don't, okay? Remember in your mind that if you can say some of this stuff up front, hey, I'm brand new, and this may or may not be for you, but I can't get you off my heart because I know you are blank, 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 or you need blank, 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 and this company's helping people accomplish just that, okay? Now, once you go through that kind of statement, now remember, by the way, you are going to connect with somebody before you go right into AdvoCare, but it is important to tell them you called for a reason. After that, you're simply going to be thinking in your mind, what can I give them or send them or say to them to look at so that they get to hear about AdvoCare, not through me? Because see, your job's almost done at that point, okay? If they start asking you questions or anything, you might say something to the effect of, hey, do you have a pen and paper? Write down this website. And then you can use many of the websites your leaders have already shown you, okay? Meettheteam.info, workwithchampions.com. You can show them a webinar that's about to happen in the next few days, whatever you know. So you have to remember that in your mind you should have a next step already available. Okay? But just remember that if you just say, hey, why don't you watch this and I'll call you back and see what you thought. Is that fair enough? That's the wording you want to use. Okay? That's as simple as it is. Now, I'm going to give you some more wording, because as you do that, you are going to get some questions. You are going to get some, maybe even objections, some comments that you're not sure, okay, now I've got my friend on the phone and this isn't going so well. No, it's going just fine. If they ask you questions, here's a few key word choices that can help you. One is, that's a great question. Quote unquote, right there. Hey, that's a great question. Or here's another one that helps a lot. I'm so glad you asked that question. Okay? And the reason you want to say something like that is so you can just immediately let them know you're not nervous about this thing. You're not thrown off by something they might think, because you're confident. It's about showing confidence. Okay? And then you're going to use something with the bulletproof shield, or you're going to immediately say, I have someone helping me, and I know they'll be able to answer that. I'm new, and you know what I know is that these products feel great in my body, or what I know is I've already made $48 and I just talked to my friend and helped them get started on a program where they're doing great. You know, just be confident, but immediately move them to your leader. Another word choice at that point is, why do you ask? If they have a question or an objection, sometimes just say, why do you ask? Because then they're going to give you more information about what they might be thinking. Then you can go right back to, I'm so glad you said that. That's a great question. But what in your mind you need to be remembering is that you're either going to respond with the bulletproof shield. I'm not teaching that tonight. Go to the website and learn about that, or ask your leader. Or this is a perfect time to connect them to your leader. Okay? And just say, I have a friend helping me. That's a great question, and I know they're going to be able to help you too. When's a good time we can catch them? Let's try now, or pick a time tonight, and I'll be able to introduce you to, and they'll be able to talk to you too and help you. Okay? Now, if they are excited enough to watch a video and you get a responder, remember they won't all say yes. If you get a responder, just set an appointment for, hey, when do you think you'll have time to watch that? I'll give you a call back. Great, I'll give you a call back and find out what you thought, okay? When can we sit down and talk? If they're local, you don't need to send them to a website and get them. You might just say, great, I'm so glad you're excited. I'll be over tomorrow. I'll bring you a sample of the product and show you more about this, okay? And then you're moving into your one-on-one, okay?
Or you can plug them into, if you know about a mixer, you can plug them into a mixer. It's a great opportunity to do that.
Exactly. And if you know there's a mixer on your calendar 2 days later or 1 day later, you can immediately say that, hey, why don't you got to get in the room. You got to see what's happening for people in this company. It could happen for you too. So just know what your next step is. What is a what's next? Because that initial phone call is not supposed to be 2 hours of you presenting AdvoCare. It's about creating interest and getting somebody in front of AdvoCare. But just remember that sometimes it's just about getting something started as far as setting the next appointment.
Yep. Another thing, we can talk a little bit about is, for the new guys, as you're talking to your people, we realize that this is new to you. It's new to them. It's kind of new maybe to everybody that this AdvoCare thing. And so some of the words, like Karen said, earlier, some of the words, there's some great word choices. There's some words that we definitely want to stay completely away from. Now, as an example, if you're talking to somebody and you're going to introduce them, or your desire is to introduce them to your leader, and Karen used the word leader, that's a great word. Or my friend, I've got a friend helping me. What you don't want to use with the words you don't want to use with somebody is like my upline or my sponsor. We sponsor people into our business, and so we are sponsors for people, but you don't want to use words like upline. I want to connect you to my upline. I want you to meet my upline. No, we're your friends. We're your leaders. We're the ones that are going to help you get where it is that you want to be. Some people use the term, I signed up. I signed up 3 people today, or I signed up 3 people this week. Again, I want to tie that back into we sponsor people. If you know somebody, if you have a dear friend of yours that is interested in AdvoCare, and you've shown them products and they like our products, and they decide to become a distributor here, we have sponsored that person. We didn't just sign somebody up. That word sign up, to some people, that's all that they see. They just connect it to signing somebody up and that being it. And that's not what we do here. We want to sponsor somebody, and with a mindset that when we sponsor somebody, we're their sponsor forever. They're our responsibility. And so that's really, that's a key phrase there. I signed up my upline. Another term is, you hear people say, help me get to 3-star gold, or help me get to Ruby. Really, as that person, as the sponsor for somebody, or somebody's leader, what we can help them do is earn income. We can help them help people that they know. We can help them help team members, and that in turn will get them to where they want to be at. Talking in terms of pen levels, and that just confuses a lot of people. And if somebody just has a mindset, if they've just got a pen level to associate it with an income, well, for those of us that have been around for a while, that's okay. But for the new people, for somebody that's new, really all we want to do is just help them. We want to help them talk to their friends and talk to their family and share products. We're going to share products. We don't necessarily sell products. That's another term, that you hear a lot of people talking about. I don't know if I could sell to my friends, or I don't know if I could sell. Well, you know what? We really don't have to sell here. We have phenomenal products, and we share them with people. We share them with our friends, and we share them with our family. We have an extraordinary business opportunity that we can share with people as well. And so think of that in terms of sharing. We are going to share with people, and if they, just like we would share a good restaurant, if we ate and went and had a great meal at a local restaurant, you would share that with your friends and with your family and let people know about that.
Yeah, exactly.
We try to also stay away from, other terms that some people associate with negative, like compare. Our products are all nutritional based products, and so I hear people say sometimes, man, Spark is like a drug to me. I drink Spark every day. Most of the people that I know drink Spark every day, but I also brush my teeth every day, and I'm not addicted to toothpaste. So we just want to be cognizant of that. We want to always make sure that when we share AdvoCare, we're using terms that lift up our products and that lift up our company, not terms that really would associate us with something in a negative way. And so using terms like, these products are like drugs, people have to have them. No, that's not what people want to hear. People want to hear our nutritional supplements will help a lot of people in a lot of different areas. And you can share them, and they will see benefits from that. But a lot of times it's just the terminology that we use. So, just kind of keep that in mind as you're sharing our products and sharing our business opportunity with people out in the marketplace.
That's really good. And Andy just set you up for such wins, because as you are making these intentional phone calls, you are new. And so the more things you can just sidestep as far as mistakes along the way, it just moves you faster. We all make those mistakes. I'm always thinking about how somebody might be sitting there going, oh no, I always say that. I always say I signed up 3 friends, and you should sign up with me too. It's okay. We're trying to give you best case scenario, because there's a culture here in AdvoCare, and there's also a culture outside of AdvoCare, and there's a perception in different types of companies. And when you call your friends about AdvoCare, we know, and how special AdvoCare is, but they don't yet. So it's always got to be about your confidence and just making that phone call, letting them know that you're excited about it, that you thought of them, that you have passion about it, that it's going to help them. And then if you can avoid some of the terminology that it's a little offsetting and it doesn't really even describe what we do, it's just there's going to be a win in the long run for you. Okay, so those are so perfect. Now after you make those phone calls, and maybe you've had to answer a few questions and use the Bulletproof Shield of confidence, or gotten them to watch something, you're calling them back. Or maybe you've gotten them to a mixer and now you're looking to see what are they ready to do. I'm just going to give you some more word choices. These are just phrases. We're not giving you the whole process tonight. So you have to remember there's a lot of things that are happening with connection, with asking the right questions, presenting, all of the things that happen, for AdvoCare to actually, make sense to somebody. But at the end of it all, sometimes we are stuck. It's like, we have somebody who's seen it and we know they're excited and then we don't know what to do. I remember feeling like that too. So here are some things that are very simple to say to them. Quote unquote, just as simple as, what did you think? We overtalk sometimes at the end. Instead of sitting down and finishing up and just saying, what did you think? Now we're trying to say more and do more, or take it away from them, or tell them it's okay if they don't want to get started. This all comes from nerves or just not sure what to do. So just saying, what do you think? They'll let you know what they think. Or, hey, does that interest you? After you've shown it to them. Or even another way to say that is, what part of what you just saw interested you? Okay, these are things that you want to ask. Okay, here's another phrase that might sound good to you or feel good to you. Do you want to learn more? Now, I don't ask, do you want to learn more, if when I say, what do you think? What did you think? They say, oh my gosh, I've been looking for something like this. At that point, I don't say, well, do you want to learn more? Right? They said they've been looking for something like this. So here's the words I'll use if somebody's really excited about what they say. Are you ready to get started? Mm-hmm. I can help you with that right now. We can get you on the computer and get you started.
What part got you excited?
Yeah. If they say what part of what you saw interested you, and they say, you know what, I'm not interested in the business, but I really like the thought of losing weight with those products. I'm like, okay, are you ready to get started? I can help you get started right now. And then I move into showing them the discount levels. There's different options to get started. What level discount do you want to get started with? I can make a package, put a package together for you. Okay, so that would be if they were interested in that. But what happens if they say, well, I've been looking, I like the money part. Well, great. Are you ready to get started? Because I can help you with that. Now, there's a very important key there. Specific language gets you specific results. Specific language gets you specific results, and non-specific language gets you non-specific results. Okay, so if you just kind of end it with, oh, that's good, yeah, isn't it great? It's awesome. AdvoCare is awesome. Nothing will happen. But if you say those kind of questions and you allow them to tell you what part they're interested in, then you know how to lead them. Then you're in control. Okay, here's what happens. You can just look them in the eye and say, okay, here's what we're going to do next. If somebody's interested, you just lead them. Okay, here's what we're going to do next. Okay? Now, if you don't have a whole lot of experience, here's what we're going to do next turns into, I want you to meet my friend Andy. He's been doing this a long time. He's helping me. I can't wait for you to meet him. We're going to get him on the phone so he can help you get started. Or he can explain more, depending on the conversation. So here's what we're going to do next is the 3-way phone call or the 2-on-1 appointment. It's you taking control of that initial presentation, finding someone who's responding and moving them right into the success system of here's what we're going to do next. And that's where the 3-way phone call comes in, or the 2-on-1 appointment. Now guys, I want to talk to you about this 3-way phone call, and it's critical before we end with any text questions. The 3-way phone call is a fundamental part of our business. You do not skip that step if you want success, okay? And so you want to understand why. Because 3-way phone calls can feel uncomfortable. They don't feel natural at first. But there are huge reasons for why we do a 3-way phone call. First of all, your friend needs to hear another story besides yours, okay? This is a business about stories, but also they know you, and the familiar requires third-party credibility, and so it's going to be really exciting for you. Now the other thing is, this is a copycat business. Down the road, you do not want to be building a business where you're doing all the work. The whole idea of our pay plan is that people can do what you do. it's a copycat business. So if you introduce someone on a three-way phone call, they will do the same thing and your business will duplicate. Okay, so it's really important. And that never stops. Leaders, and Andy and I still use third-party credibility. We don't call our sponsor for it. They're not even doing Advocare anymore, and we don't go to the McDaniels for it, but we use third-party credibility by using the stories of our team. You can always reach to the left or the right. Andy and I are going to be in Florida at Seaside with the Diamonds this week, and even though our assistant's going to be here at the house and all of that, you're not going to possibly use him. You might need to use a third party from a Crossline friend. But just know that it's absolutely important. The other thing is, when you do use your mentor or you do use a leader to help you with a new person, they know the questions to ask. They know how to do this. You're learning as you're on the three-way phone call. So it's really important. And all you have to do, the key to three-way phone calls is not asking, but being in control and saying, hey, here's what we do next. I can't wait for you to meet my friend Andy. He's helping me. He'll help you too. That's how simple it is. What's a good time for you to get connected? Give me 2 or 3 times and I'll sure Andy can find a time that works for both of us. And that's it. And you have to just remember how important that is. I'm going to give you a couple of keys before we close up on the three-way phone call because they're so important. What do you do on a three-way phone call? Once you've got that connection, you have done your job. And I'm so proud of all of you that are using your leaders, wearing them out, letting them help you, letting us help you, those of us that we've sponsored, that we do three-way phone calls with, because that's the key to the business. And so if you get the connection made, then it's very simple, because your job after that is to introduce, set up your leader to understand who's on the phone and what they know so far, a little bit about Advocare. Just let them know, hey, this is my friend. He's had a spark in his body. He's watched meettheteam.info and he's interested in finding out more. And Karen is my friend who's helping. So I want you two to talk. And here's what I always coach my new distributors up on. Once they do that, they just say out loud, hey, by the way, Brian, I'm going to let you and Karen talk now. I'm just going to put my phone on mute, sit back and listen and learn and let you two connect. And that's your only job. Now, it's very helpful if while you're on that three-way, you have a paper and pen out and you're taking notes. Because if you're taking notes, then you're going to remember the process and you're going to learn what your sponsor's doing. You're going to hear the questions they ask and the basic things that they do on a three-way phone call, because you're going to do the same thing for your team members. I think there's something out there that sometimes people get a little mixed up on and confused on, and that's that they, as a new distributor, cannot be third-party credibility and do a three-way phone call for their team members, and they can. Yes, it's great to get a big income story on the phone, and sometimes it's very important, but you can also do three-way phone calls for the people on your team if you've heard a few, you know the format, and you're diligent about knowing that there's some basic things we do on a three-way. And just remember, your story is a new story, and that's what the purpose of a three-way phone call is to add third-party credibility and another story. Okay?
Well, I was going to just say, and I'm not sure what your last points are, but 2 things. One, the way that you have a successful three-way phone call is just like the way, it's the same thing about having a successful meeting or being successful in anything. It's the way that you set it up. If you set up a three-way phone call correctly with the person that you're doing the three-way phone call for or with, if you two have got that conversation, then you know exactly what needs to be done, and you can share that, and then the three-way phone call will work. But it's always going to be, and Karen had a great point there, let the person know, hey, this is my friend Andy, we're going to be talking to Andy. He's tried Spark, he loves the Spark, and maybe he knows a couple of gym owners, and he's thinking about maybe sharing it with them. Could you maybe make that connection? And then when you get on the phone, you know kind of where you're going to go with the conversation. But everything starts with the setup, making sure that it's set up correctly. The second thing is this. When you use the three-way phone call, all the stuff that Karen mentioned, that stuff is exactly right. And it's gonna work. And I'm gonna tell you, the people that use the three-way phone call as part of their success system, that's the people that earn income fast. And here's something that really it's probably one of the hidden benefits that we never really talk about. But when you use a three-way phone call with your new person, they see that there's a system in place, and that hey, if this lady Karen is helping my friend, and I decide to do this business, they would assume that girl Karen will help them too. And so it lets people know that, hey, not only is there a system in place, but there's somebody that's in that system that will help them. But if they're helping my friend, they'll help me too. That's something that people will plant a seed. They'll plant in the back of their mind, and they'll think, well, if I ever decide to do this business, well, at least I know I'm going to get help. And that's a huge piece of this three-way phone call. The credibility, the third-party credibility is major, major, major. But it also lets that new guy know, hey, there's a system in place here, and all I really need to do is plug into it if it's something I'm interested in.
Absolutely. A couple other things on three-way phone calls. First of all, there is a video online on the Advocare site and also on advocaretraining.com on how to do an appropriate three-way phone call. There's a basic bullet point script on some things to flow through a three-way phone call on our team website under helpful documents. And so you definitely want to learn the basics and not just there's got to be a purpose to the call. If nobody knows why they're on there, if the new person doesn't know why they're on there, if even you as a new leader doing three-way phone calls for someone else, if you don't know what your job is, you'll feel confused and you won't get anything done. So remember, these are not just to do, there's a purpose. So you want to do your homework and study that and just, ask your leader a couple of questions. And I always feel like it's the most important thing is set up the new distributor for what their job is too, and so that they know they need to stay quiet after they introduce. Okay, because you don't want to be mad at somebody who's talking over you when you haven't told them not to. So just remember, we're telling you if you do three-way phone calls with us, but you want to also share that with whoever you're doing the three-way phone calls with. That's why you want to be able to take notes and just stay quiet and learn, and then three-way phone calls will always duplicate the right way. We probably could do a whole Ustream on three-way phone calls, and maybe we will put that in, but our time is absolutely up. We're really sorry. We're just moving through so many teaching points. Are there any questions? If you have any text questions, let us know. Remember again, word choices do matter. What you say can really make a difference for people to receive Advocare's message well. Okay?
Well, I was going to say the text number is 281-844-4591. And certainly the conversation tonight was about three-way phone calls, but the questions don't have to be about the three-way phone call. It could be about just about anything, and we'll try to get those answered for you.
Yep.
So we'll hang on and wait just a few minutes and see if anybody texts us.
Absolutely. And while we're waiting, if you want to hang on and see if there's any questions, I'll give you a little bit more on the three-way phone call, things that really make a difference. If you are tempted to talk when your leader and your prospect are in the middle of a conversation, a good suggestion is to write down what you're tempted to say, okay? Because you're not supposed to say it, and here's why, just so you know, because many times what you think you should add to the conversation, it is valid, and it may even be helpful, okay? But it can't happen in the context of a three-way phone call for the call to be effective, and the reason is that your prospect will feel like they're being talked at by two different people instead of that they're just having a conversation. So if you're tempted to add something, just write it down when the call is over. If you want to talk to your leader about how could I bring this subject up now, or how can we cover this, you can talk to your leader about it, but that would be a good way to help you stay quiet. Another thing about three-way phone calls that you want to think about is that it's not your leader's job to close out business for you. Sometimes it's very easy for them to do, because once they share and once they ask the right questions and they ask the person what part of that are you interested in, somebody your prospect will say, I'm ready to get started, and your leader will know whether she'll toss that back to you and say, hey, you know what, Tamika's great at getting people enrolled, she already knows how to help you, so I'm going to hop off and let you two work together. Or your leader may know that you're so new that they'll close out the rest of it for you. But when I do a three-way, I'm always thinking in my mind, I'm giving third-party credibility, I'm just adding more value, another story to this picture, and then I'm typically handing it back over to whoever got me on the call and saying, I'm going to let you two finish up and talk. So don't be expecting the expectation that your leader will just be closing out advisors for you. The third party credibility is what that three-way phone call is, and then you continue to move forward with your friends in the process of AdvoCare. Any question?
How should the word choices sound from the new person who has not earned income when sharing a so that story?
That's okay. So a new person, I'm going to go right back to the so that statement. Okay, and I'm going to take that exact question, and the question is basically, how does a new person give a so that statement if they haven't earned any income? Okay, now I want you to understand something. That's going to be a very short time frame, so don't worry about it too much. Okay, so let's say you placed an advisor order and you're calling your first contact. You're just going to say, you won't need this so that statement at that moment. You are just going to say, I'm calling for a reason. I just found a business that's going to help me earn income, you know, for my family, so that we can get Karen out of her job and being home with the kids. And it's working for other people. As a matter of fact, my friend Titus is already earning, you know, and then you're telling somebody else's earnings right at that moment. So at the beginning, don't use the so that statement if you don't have a current earnings. That should never stop anybody. It's all about, I just found a way to earn income and I've gotten started and I thought of you. Okay? After you find somebody that responds and somebody that gets interested in product or business, now you have an earnings. Okay, so just remember, we all start at ground zero. We all have zero earnings when we talk to the beginning people. You're using the stories of others. Okay?
So the question is it okay to skip, I guess it's a leadership level, and go to a higher person in the organization to do three-way calls? Well, I would say that would I would say that depends on. You always want to use your leader if it's possible. Now, our business moves pretty quickly, and sometimes there's 2 or 3 people in an organization that are all new, and maybe the situation is, you know, let me just give you an example. Maybe it's a really good business prospect. Maybe it's a business owner, and they're looking for somebody with a little bit more experience, maybe a higher income, that they want to connect it to that person for better credibility. Absolutely. But you still want to work through your sponsor. And the reason is because typically in our business, the sponsor is the person that we know. Now, we get to know people all up through our organizations, and, you know, at all different levels. A lot of us know, you know, almost everybody in our organization. But it makes sense to people, and what makes sense to people is that, you know, Karen introduced me to this business, and so she knows more than I do. And so that's who I'm always going to use, because that's who brought me into this business. She's who sponsored me. And so, sure, I may use somebody else, you know, if I have to. She may call me up and say, hey, listen, we're going to be out of town in Florida next week. I've talked to, you know, my sponsor, and she said she'd be more than happy to help you, or he said he'd be more than happy to help you and connect you guys. And if you need a three-way phone call, or you need something, have a question to get answered, you know, feel free to call them. And so, yeah, we do that, and it's certainly okay. But just from a business standpoint, from a practicality standpoint, if you can use your uplines, you know, if you can use your sponsor, the person that brought you into the business that sponsored you here, yeah, use that person. That's who people will know. Because here's what I've seen happen before. Well, how do y'all know each other? Oh, we've known each other for 10 years. You know, we went to high school together. well, people see that there's connection there, you know, and that's okay. I mean, you know, even if you just met somebody, you don't have to have that background, but many times you do, and that means something to the new guy. Well, they're long-term friends, and you know, obviously there's some trust there. Now, it could be somebody that you just have only met a couple of weeks prior, and they just happen to be an advocate and they're helping you with your business too. That's okay. You can share that with them as well. But I think it's always a good idea to use your sponsor.
Yeah, I'm going to add a couple of thoughts to that. One is, it depends. This question is kind of complicated because we don't know what the question is stemming from, in other words. But when I read it, one thing I want to say is there's no rules here in AdvoCare. Okay, so people don't own people. And so I just want to qualify our answers with that because everybody does things differently. So there's no black and white rule that says you cannot ask somebody above someone else, or you can't reach down, or any of that. That's something that people just make that stuff up in their own minds. Okay, this is a business where we're all looking to work with people who want to work. We're all looking to help people who want to be helped, and we're all looking to spread the message of AdvoCare correctly. So in other words, Andy and I, the way we run our business might be different than the way someone else runs their business, but we're not following a set of rules. We're following our guts. We're following I'm going to reach down and help them. Now, sometimes people want to use possibly, let's say, their diamond leader because they think their friend who's only been in the business a couple months won't be as good at it. And here's what I want you to understand about that. Again, the call is simply to add another story, to add some credibility, to give you third party. And teams that get confident at doing three-way phone calls without waiting for their diamond leaders, they all get so good so fast. They're the ones that are growing fast. They're just willing to get out there and share and share and share. And all of a sudden, everybody's doing three-way phone calls instead of sitting around waiting for the one busy person who's trying to fit in a lot of people to help. So I just want to encourage you that if you start stepping out and doing three-way phone calls for somebody, you don't have to be perfect or the giant breadwinner here. You have to be that voice that can connect with somebody, care about them, let them know what's happening for you and what's happening for others. And if you ever are new and get stumped on a three-way phone call, just say, you know what, I'm kind of new too. I've only been doing this a month, but I've already earned this much money, and we have someone that helps us. We'll find out that answer. So you got to be able to know that you can slow down and show that prospect that you are very willing to be helping and doing these calls, and that there's someone that can answer something you don't know. So I hope that helps you. Again, there's no right or wrong, no rules, but a lot of times we slow our own businesses down waiting for a particular person to do our three-ways when their friend who's been in the business 3 weeks could do it if you just ask them to.
Yeah, so oftentimes people, there's no other calls.
Oh, cool.
So oftentimes people want to know. They think like Karen said, they think that maybe a high income earner is going to do a better job. But the fact is, this person may just want to talk to somebody who's already lost 5 pounds or already lost the 10 pounds, mm-hmm. or who is in that process of transformation, transforming their body. So you never really know. I mean, it could be one or the other. I like to say that, you know, because our products work, there's always a great business opportunity. So the two are kind of connected, and people, that they can see that, if they can see where the products definitely work, if they understand that, you know, the 24-day challenge, you know, is an average of 8 to 24 pounds in 24 days on average, people will buy that. I mean, especially if they're talking to somebody who's lost 10 pounds in 3 weeks or 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So never underestimate the power of a great weight loss story or a lower income, $500 income.
Yeah. As it's past 9:30, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks for another Sunday night team time. We will see you next Sunday. God's blessings.